your
Yeah.
video and stuff. Anyway,
Sorry, sir. I got
I
none of
blame
that.
Skype. Anyway, what event divided your life into before and after? Like, maybe it's a girl, maybe it's a financial thing, maybe it's a traumatic event. Some people in the thing were talking about going to war. What event divided your life into before and after?
It's done it a few times, right? Like, shit. Getting out of high school, that's definitely one of them. There's a before and an after. That
Really?
big fucking totally, yeah. Like once I'm out of high school, then I'm free. I can do my own thing. Nobody can fucking tell me a thing at all. Like I was like, I didn't think I was a man when I got out of high school. I wasn't under I wasn't under that illusion. I didn't. There were a lot of things that I think that you need to be able to do or have done
You were
to
a
be
young
a
man.
man. I don't buy into that bullshit either. I don't believe in young men. There are young men, but I wasn't one of them. And a few years later, breaking up with my girlfriend, there was definitely a before and after then, because that just really fucked my life up. And I had been going in this direction, and it was like just hitting a brick wall, and it's just like, all right, we got to go in a different direction now, and it was really hard to get the ship like going again. So there was
You
a
dated
before
her
and
twice.
after.
Is this the?
Yeah, dated her
Which one are you
twice,
thinking
and there's a
of?
before and there's a break during each breakup. So she's two. She's two. Like 10 years apart. Like two breakups 10 years apart. They were both like life shattering. I don't know. When I first got that like fucking $56,000 from Machinima, when they finally unlocked my money and got around to paying me, it was like it was a bit of vindication. It wasn't about. I had money. It wasn't like, oh my God, I've got so much money, because I had large sums of money before. It was more about it was the vindication for all the people who didn't believe, not in me or what I was doing, because I didn't.
Did he just drop off,
Uh-oh.
Taylor?
Yeah, he just dropped off.
Kyle, silly internet.
Ugh.
After he was
Golly.
coming, when he comes back, I'm gonna ask him to pick one of these events, because you can't just choose every big event in your life.
I agree. That's
Sorry
not
about
fair.
that.
He's
Am
clearly
I back now?
cheating. Yes, you're back.
Okay, so what I was saying is, it wasn't vindication where I understood why people didn't believe in what I was doing. It didn't believe in me, but I wanted them to believe in what I was telling them. It's like, you don't have to believe that I'm going to go and do great things on my own. That's okay if you don't believe that. But when I tell you that the great things are already happening and that I've done this and here it is on paper, and my dad was like, what are you talking? Where's the money? He's like, they're not going to pay you that. They're not going to give you that money. And I'm like, they owe me that money. Like, he's like, how long's it been? 3 months, 4 months? They're not going to give you that money. And I started to believe it. And I'm like, I'm on Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 or something with Hutch, and I'm like, Hutch, you've been working with Machinima for a while, right? And he's like, yeah. I was like, they pay you and everything, right? He's like, yeah. I was like, before you went over there, you had some big channel payments, right? And he was like, yeah. I was like, I told him what I was owed, and he had been owed a similar amount of money, a very large sum of money, tens of thousands of dollars. And I was like, did they pay you? You got it? He's like, yeah, they paid me, and they paid this much to so-and-so. I'm not going to drop any names that he told me long ago, but there were some other guys that he knew who had been paid large sums of money too. And I was like, okay, good. And finally, there was a day on Twitter, and you saw everybody, they went alphabetically, and they went through the row. And when you got to White Boy's last name, he was on Twitter blowing up. Like, love Machinima. Everybody loved Machinima. And when you finally got to me in the middle of the alphabet, I was like, fuck yeah, finally. They actually, I believe them now. But that was definitely a before and after moment, because it was nice to know that it wasn't all a big scam that I had been working into, that Machinima wasn't a pyramid scheme, that YouTube wasn't a pyramid scheme, that it was a legitimate business, and that I was being given what I'd been promised, because I didn't know up until that moment.
So
Okay.
which one of those of like 5 events was the most impactful?
The before and after.
Probably I would think the high school one.
Oh, they're all equally like,
Nope,
I
not
couldn't
fair.
rank them.
You're cheating.
Each of them like completely changed like the way I thought about everything in life. They changed the direction, the path, the goals. Everything changed at each of those junctures.
Do you want to be known as the guy who cheated on this question? I mean, down for the rest of time.
I don't
I
know.
have to pick one. That's the question. Oh, okay.
Technically, I don't know.
The first
it's a
time,
fair answer.
the first time the girl broke up with me. Then the first time that we broke up, because if she hadn't broken up, I would have almost certainly married her and worked in finance. That would have been me.
Worked in
Because that was
finance?
Yeah, because that was the trajectory that I was going on with the car dealership thing. That's definitely where I was gonna. I wanted to be a finance director. I wanted to be in charge of a finance department. But I didn't give a fuck about any of that after we broke up. But so that was probably a big change there.
Taylor,
That's a good
do you want to
answer.
go?
I was gonna say the McRib, but honestly, Kyle's answers are way better. Probably finishing college, because it's almost the exact same reason that Kyle said. But if you go to college, you have more responsibility to get your shit done than in high school. You know, not as many people holding your hand, but there's still that. It's like a limbo before you reach reality, if that makes sense. Like, you still have some buffers up. When you're done with college and you're kind of just thrust into the real world, and you realize, like, oh my god, nobody taught me how to do taxes. Like, nobody showed me how to do these things. Like, fuck. Like, I figured there would be, like, the last class in college, like, how to be an adult, 1000, and, like, then you take it and you figure all these things out, and you figure out what, like, APR means and all these things that you see on commercials, and, like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, maybe I'm alone here, but you feel like you're sent out into the world, and that everybody else has a handle on what's going on, and that you're kind of, like, I don't know, Jesus take the wheel. Like, you don't really know what to do. That was my first, like, big schism thinking about that, is like, holy shit, school's over. Like, there's no more going back to that playpen and goofing off, unless I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go to grad school for something stupid and, take out $100,000 in debt. Yeah, that's definitely my real one. Finishing college, like, finally feeling like an adult and having those responsibilities.
So I thought about this question before the show, and there's meeting Jackie. I've got a bunch of these like Kyle does, right? There's meeting Jackie, there's finishing school. The YouTube thing was kind of big for me because it was like a transition to self-employment and being in charge of my own time. But when I thought it through, like the real sort of before and after to me, someone wrote suicide attempt. No, that wasn't that. It was Colin's diagnosis. Yeah.
When was that?
I already know what you're gonna say. I knew this going in. I feel like before Colin's diagnosis, maybe the plan involved a really big family, and a really big family, maybe 4 or 5 kids, and seeing that Colin was going to need more attention than you could give to 4 or 5 kids, meant that you had to keep it a tighter knit family, right?
Exactly. It's our house, especially the Apex house, especially really, was like is geared towards his development in a way that most houses aren't. Like, did your house look like an elementary school with fucking alphabet all over the walls and stuff? Probably not, but ours does, and not the new one. Jackie homeschools Colin, and that is like a huge time investment every day. And I don't know, just something about our whole lives became geared towards giving him, and Hope, but she's easy by comparison, the best shot in life possible. And like so much of what I've done, like regards to my career and my time, is all wrapped up into Colin, and that's been life changing compared to like that. I feel like the before and after one, and yeah, so Colin's diagnosis was probably the biggest thing. A lot of people, they don't know what he was diagnosed as. The first diagnosis we ever got was autism. They said he's autistic, and he was just a delayed speaker. And then we started going to more and more professionals, and it seems like delayed development, or whatever you want to call it, you can get any diagnosis you want. With speech apraxia and what do they call it? Expressive and receptive language issues. They all. The point is, autism is a spectrum, which didn't mean anything to me when I first heard it. But what it means is, like, some people have it really mild and it's hardly anything. They're just kind of awkward, and some people have it really severe and they're completely nonverbal.
Yeah, it's a broad description of any number of ailments that can be applied in any number of combinations.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
Colin,
it's a huge diagnosis. I used to work with some autistic kids, like volunteering, and some of them would be like, it wasn't until they did like one odd thing that you'd be like, oh, okay, I see why that kid is here. And other ones would be like 26 years old, unable to speak, like they're knocking into other kids because they're a full-grown man, and running into a little girl to like grab her toy is inappropriate. Like, it's a huge chasm of what you can be in there.
and one of the common threads about autistic people that made us push back on that diagnosis was how autistic people sometimes don't connect with other people, right? Like, you might expect an autistic person not to read your verbal gestures, or I'm sorry, your nonverbal gestures. An autistic person might not understand other people's feelings, right? You say you love you, and that kid never says I love you back. Colin is the opposite. Colin is really, really expressive, and he's really in tune to how you're feeling, how you're
You're coming in and out, my friend.
I think I am for you, but I'm not for the world.
Yeah, I think they'll.
Oh, that would be good.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Anyway, he, if anything, I almost feel like he's got this daredevil thing for nonverbals, in that, like, because his language skills are weak, the non-language skills are super strong. And that's who Colin is. I think that's why he's so sweet. That could be part of it. So, anyway.
So I know that you've probably told this before, and I just don't remember. Was it pretty quickly after he was born that you got a diagnosis, or was it I guess something like that would take a while? Like, you don't know until like the speaking starts, right?
Exactly.
Or doesn't start.
So, like, I remember this. So he said like "mama" or something like that at 9 months, like you'd expect. And as a baby, they weren't words, but he was just really verbal, like chatty, cooing, and he was more verbal than even Hope was in that pre-verbal stage. And I remember this. Jackie was talking to Colin, who of course can't talk yet, and he has like a younger niece or something, and she's like, oh, I won't name her, but like, Gloria is saying "mama," you got to keep up. And at the time, we had no idea how hard it would be to keep up, for him. So he was 18 months to 2 years, something like that, when we got a diagnosis for the first time. And we thought they were wrong. We did kind of push, but they're like, yeah, he's autistic, and, I can tell. I've been doing this forever. That's him. And we're like, what? And they're like, yeah, because you do this, and he doesn't, like, pay attention to it. And we're like, but he totally will if I do this or that. And even now, like, I think at first we had an objection to just like autism as a diagnosis. Like, we didn't want someone to call our kid that. That's where we're past that. It's.
Do you feel like over time that you've become more like content with the diagnosis as it's been narrowed down, and you've called in more people or experts or whatever, or is it kind of just a whatever?
Well, financially, it's a good diagnosis to stick with.
Yeah, so there's that. I'll circle back to that. I don't know if content.
We're losing you right now, Woody.
Oh, I don't know if content is the term that I would use. It's that, like, we're no longer sensitive to it. You can say he has speech dyspraxia. You can say he's autistic. You can say he has Tourette's. Like, you can say anything, and we're just like, yeah, almost any diagnosis you give us is not earth-shattering or even news. It's just a different take on it. A different take on the same sort of, like, I'm looking for a better term than mental disability, because it almost implies retardation. Like, his intelligence is fine. It's just like some sort of language processing that he's lacking. And some of the things, like I said earlier, that impact autistic people, like just understanding feelings and recognizing that other people are people and they're different than objects, he's super strong at that. So, yeah, you can call him autistic, you can call him speech dyspraxia, you can call him anything. They're not really issues. Oops. It's I don't know. And then Kyle was saying autistic is a good thing. Yeah, there are a lot of like if it's a known disability, like for example, let's pretend he had Down syndrome. The whole world, like Social Security and benefits and stuff, they're kind of prepared to handle Down syndrome. They know, like if you want extra like assistance at school and stuff, and your kid has a Down syndrome diagnosis, then they provide them because they get what Down syndrome is. If you go to school and say, you know, he has speech dyspraxia, they're like, I don't really know what that is, but we don't have shit for that's not on my list. So, so in some ways, we always just like accepted the autism diagnosis because it's on the list. So
we kind of glossed over it earlier, but yeah, you're getting the flamethrower. What are you going to do with the flamethrower first?
Start fires in the fire pit. I think that'd be fun.
The new ones are actually better. So they upgraded them again, the XM42s, and
shucks, Skype.
Like I don't know, like a standard spray bottle. It was like that screwed on there of camping fuel, and now it's one of those really small, almost like a cylinder propane butane canisters that goes on there. It's 25 feet of distance, and the flame is a lot wider now. It's works real nice.
I have a 1,000-gallon propane tank because that's what we use for the house. I wonder how hard it would be to turn that into a refill station for the flamethrower.
They're like $3 a pop, and they last a long time. You really don't risk this. This is how you die. This is like how you're gonna be a goner because you were too cheap to buy $3 worth of propane. Like, just fuck. I'm gonna send you 2 canisters. Don't try to refill anything.
I just feel like that. I used to think that they make.
I can see you tapping into this 500-gallon tank
1,000.
to fill up this 3.7 ounce cube of butane. And it's just filling the air with vapors.
Yeah, right. Just
buy a bottle. Yeah,
they're $2.47 a piece. This is just